Oh boy, I've been looking forward to this. A Moffat Part 1. They're always good. Better be careful not to get too invested for when he fucks it up in Part 2, though. Okay, stay grounded, Stuart, stay grounded. Set your emotions at bay. Okay. Precedent says that this is probably going to be a pretty good piece of television, and I hope it is. Let's watch. Wow, it was a pretty good piece of television. Now I am going to review it. World Enough and Time was a very good episode of Doctor Who. I like Doctor Who. It is a program that I watch on the television and then talk about in videos. It was a piece of television written by Stephen Moffat, and it was acted in by Peter Capaldi playing the 12th Doctor, and Pearl Mackie who plays his companion, Bill Potts. Bill Potts, 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 Potts. Okay, so World Enough and Time was fucking awesome for quite a few reasons, but the one I'm going to start out with is the unexpected nature of it. Moffat can surprise us when he feels like it. We know he's still capable of it. Even if lots of episodes with his name attached have been formulaic and predictable in recent times, Heaven Sent did prove that he could still deliver something that no one had any right to expect. And this one worked by making out as though it was going to be a run-of-the-mill Stephen Moffat finale, and then breaking those formulas into 50 million pieces with a fucking sledgehammer. As I went into this episode, I will admit that I wasn't really taking it all that seriously, because I really didn't know what it could do to surprise me by this point. We'd already been told that Missy and the old Cybermen were in it, so was John Sims' Master, because we can't be asked to think of anything new to do, so let's just throw a bone to the people still relenting the 2005 to 2009 period of New Who, because apparently that's nostalgia for people now, and oh my god, Dalek was 12 years ago! It's over a decade old now. And I'm 27 now, and... Fuck, is that grey hair? Oh my god, I'm almost 30, I'm so old!
Focus, Stuart!
Okay, sorry. Okay, so we start the episode, and I'm like, ooh, look at the pretty shots of all the planets and shit, going all fast and zoomy. Whee! Wait. Ooh, what's that over there? Oh my god, look, it's Moffat's massive brain, and there's planets orbiting it. I always knew he was so smart he would end up becoming the centre of his own solar system one day.
Focus, Stuart!
God, why is having patrons so painful? Okay, fine. Right, so, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, so we start with a standard Moffat opening. His episodes that aren't middle of the series and explicitly single story and theme focused, like Listen. With his finales, it's usually a generic classic Doctor Who monster runaround with our main characters exchanging snarky dialogue. That's what I expected, and that's what it sort of looks like it's about to be. Although I must admit that the opening 10 minutes of this one were a lot more encouraging and better written than most. I did really like this setup of replacing the Doctor with Missy in a story and seeing how that changes the dynamic. At first it seems a bit cheesy and gimmicky, which is why I'm glad they didn't do it for the whole episode, but it was after the first couple of minutes of this that I realised this isn't normal. There's something that isn't quite right about this picture. I mean, yes, I know I'm supposed to think that because it's explicitly an exercise in dynamic shifting, and there's also Missy making some fourth wall jokes that honestly feel as though they're directed at me specifically.
These are my disposables, exposition and comic relief.
Wait a minute, I say that stuff all the bloody time. Does Moffat actually watch me?
Look, see, I swear I've seen him in my garden. See, behind that bush over there? Yeah? Come out, Moffat, I know you're there.
But yeah, as said, given this is a typical opening scene of a Doctor Who story subverted with Missy as the Doctor, it's open about it being a change in the dynamic, but that change in the dynamic was enough to set me thinking, this was not what I was expecting at all from Moffat. Aren't you supposed to be doing stupid puns and pretentious speeches and big, dumb, empty spectacle? Like, you're actually doing something kind of interesting for a change. Seriously, what the fuck am I looking at here? The Doctor's idea to turn Missy good by setting her up as the good guy in his place in a Doctor lands on spaceship and executes what looks like a base under siege story about to happen, it's a little bit contrived, but it's more of a flipping things on its head move than I expected from a Moffat finale by this stage. I shouldn't have expected same old, because, you know, heaven sent and everything, but I do still have this residual impression left over of him of, oh, it's a Stephen Moffat finale, I know what's going to happen now, but what that's done is set me up for a massive shock. Because then we got this blue guy who comes out with a gun and starts going on about these creatures that are coming up from below decks. And he babbles on and fucking on about how they're coming here because Bill's a human and they need humans. And the thing about this is, you've been conditioned by New Who to expect the obvious, because you've seen this type of thing so many times already, you're thinking, okay, you're just dragging out the inevitable now. That lift is going to reach this floor, the doors are going to open, and it's the Mondasian Cybermen. I fucking know that's what's going to happen. The Beeb have already revealed to us that the Mondasian Cybermen are back. I know that's what's about to happen. And then it just doesn't. It totally doesn't. The guy shoots Bill and she dies. The entire build up to that moment, it was focused almost entirely on the approaching lift. It was a great little idea for a bit of misdirection before that moment just hits you like a ton of bricks. Such a drastic, shocking, fucking flooring break from what I expected of New Who. Honestly, that moment was like Moffat reaching out of the screen and giving twats like me a smack in the mouth. It was great. Really, I couldn't believe this. And then, from the second after you see that gaping hole in Bill's chest, I don't know, something just happens and I totally fell in love with this weird, twisted little slice of sci-fi horror. Okay, so we got these part-converted patients dragging Bill away below decks. I really love the touch of the old-timey voice boxes like the Cybermen from Spare Parts. That combined with their ghoulish appearance just makes them so creepy. So Bill wakes up in this bizarre, quiet, atmospheric space hospital where patients are undergoing primitive cybernetic surgery. It's this gorgeous, uninterrupted 10-minute sequence of Bill wandering through the corridors and finding patients. She's alone, she's very far away from the Doctor, and she's had something weird done to her chest that we're never shown. It makes the story feel truly dangerous and alien, and it's got the audience completely incapable of seeing a way out of this for her. You know, aside from a Deus Ex Machina or two, which I was crossing my fingers for the duration wouldn't happen. And so it starts to explain itself, and it's wonderfully inventive. The colony ship is so massive that below decks are basically cities, and since the ship's in such a poor state, in order to survive, the people need to evolve and adapt to the changing climate. A lot of people have called it essentially a rip-off of Spare Parts, which I think is a bit... well, actually not a bit, very unfair really. While it is unclear how Spare Parts fits into the continuity now, given the existence of this story and the fact that this ship was apparently from Mondas, it's a bit hazy, but it does get adequately addressed in Part 2, and the way this thing's been visually realised and the ideas behind it just works so well and adds so much to the Cybermen mythos that it was totally worth doing in my opinion. I just got such chills at that bit where the surgeon holds up the antennae. The episode does a fantastic job of making the Mondasian Cybermen creepy. They were pretty creepy to begin with, you know, with their plastic tubes and their weird gimp suit-like skin, but actually having the body horror side of the Cybermen being this prominent, a side rarely seen in the on-screen iterations of the show because... well, you know, the show's meant to be for the whole family, and Cybermen are created by chopping humans apart and replacing flesh and bone with plastic and metal. Having this actually happen to a companion, and having the prospect of her final conversion building over the course of the episode, as she's told that she'll be made better by doctors, traditionally figures that you're supposed to trust with your life in their hands, it's terrifying, sets the stakes at an ultimate high point for basically the entire duration, and God, the performance of the guy that plays that Doctor. It's a tiny role, but it's fucking gorgeously dark. I know this is probably sacrilege to some classic Who nerds, of which I am one, but I always felt that the 10th planet was a bit... well, not crap as such, but it felt like a small fragment of a much more interesting story. So what Moffat's done here is take the design of the Mondasian Cybermen apart and actually show the human processing behind it. The steps that have been taken to actually convert humans into Cybermen when this technology is being streamlined by its inventors, naturally as surgical procedures. Making people better in this weird gothic hospital, starting out as patients with bags over their heads and bodies concealing whatever horrifying walking corpses they look like now. By leaving that to the imagination, it's legitimately terrifying without being graphic. My favourite moment's either between the antennae bit, or that moment where Bill discovers that you can turn the volume on a patient's voice box either up or down, and she discovers that one's been on mute, just begging for death.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ, this thing's fucking twisted. Okay, I've been too positive so far, it's kind of freaking me out. Okay, on the downside, I wasn't a big fan of the return of John Sims' Master. Not that I was opposed to him coming back at all, and not that I didn't like the character that he was in disguise as throughout the episode. Yes, the Master did traditionally slip into other roles before revealing that he was the bad guy all along, but I kinda would've preferred it if Razor had just been a helpful, friendly weirdo. Given that John Sim Master is kind of a bit purposeless in this story, when you look at the bigger picture and the framework of the story, this particular building block of it isn't really that important or interesting to me, and it feels like a bit of a last-minute addition when Moff was told that he had to have some name pull to get people interested in the prospect of watching this finale. I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, it's just I was quite invested in Bill and Razor's developing friendship as they spend years in the bowels of the ship waiting for the Doctor at the other end where time moves thousands of times slower. Christ, I love the way the world he's constructed here works. Every aspect of it is so imaginative and it just links up and makes so much structural sense. Oh yeah, another criticism I have is that when the Doctor first runs into cyber-converted Bill, I didn't like the zoom through one of her eye holes to see her crying. I just felt that actually seeing inside of it kinda dampened the mystique of these gaping black holes in a Cyberman's face a little bit, and it doesn't really heighten the emotion like whoever decided to do this shot clearly seems to think that it does. The fact that this character that you've been invested in for the whole series has been turned into this horrifying monster because the Doctor was too late to save her is emotionally crippling to the character and the audience alone. It's a nitpick, yes, but just I would have taken it out if I was directing this. It's overkill, really. The way the reveal of cyber-converted Bill was executed was really good and I was highly engaged, but it did overindulge a bit in New Who's standard build-up to our climactic incident moment as the Cyberman starts going, "Bill Potts, Bill Potts," and I'm sat there going, come on, just do it already. That Cyberman is Bill Potts. I know it is, and the Master's about to come out and go, look, Doctor, a companion converted into a Cyberman, and I'm here to gloat about that. Moo hardy hardy ha ha ha, aren't I so evil? But, and this is a big but here, this is learning from your mistakes of the highest order. You may remember ages and ages ago that I mentioned in my Death in Heaven review that I'd always wanted to see a companion converted into a Cyberman, and I was pleased that it had happened with Danny Pink, though not too over the moon about it, because I hadn't really been that interested in the light sprinklings of romance between him and Clara throughout Season 8 at all. So I wasn't really that engaged, and I didn't really care all that much as I sat watching the admittedly competently written exchanges between the two of them in the graveyard. It was well made and well delivered, I just wished that I'd actually cared about the two of them. Well, here, he's actually done that with a character that he bothered getting me invested in first, and it really works. I'll get into how this is followed up on next time, but so far as getting us up to the point of a companion being converted into a Cyberman, it was a slow build to it. It was really creepy and effective. And that cliffhanger provided a great dramatic payoff to the events of the first part of this finale, and it actually felt as though the high stakes were justified for a change. That and this kind of follows up on something I mentioned ages ago with regard to 12's character development. One of the things that I've quite liked about the 12th Doctor is his imperfections and his mistakes. I felt the narrative had a tendency to overegg the importance of how special and brilliant and clever and amazing the Doctor was quite a bit throughout most of David Tennant and Matt Smith's respective runs. And I've enjoyed seeing a more flawed Doctor for a change. I've liked that Capaldi's Doctor makes mistakes, as it heightens the drama, makes the scenarios feel more dangerous, since I know that the events can actually affect and damage the characters. I mean, they made him go blind for 3 episodes this year. Just if we downplay the danger, so much so to the point where when all looks lost I'm certain that I Am the Doctor's about to play and he's about to say, "Wait a minute, Clara. Oh yes, I can just readjust the particles of the Neofluctuary McWhatsit." Wave the magic buzzy thing at the monster and stop it, you kinda lose me because I don't know why I should care if the story's resolution is going to be that easy, obvious and plays out again and fucking again every year. But here, the 12th Doctor didn't get there in time and his companion got converted into a Cyberman because of that. This is probably the most horrible thing that's ever happened to a companion who has been on her own all episode, and you haven't been able to see an easy resolution for her, and this Doctor is fully capable of failure. If it weren't for precedent on this front and my pessimism saying he's probably going to fuck this up next time, on its own, as a cliffhanger, this really, really works. So, yeah, overall, yeah, just wow. Moffat impressed the fuck out of me again. 2 seasons running. This is getting weird. Am I softening or is he getting better again? I can't tell what's happened here. Yeah, I think it's that Moffat's getting better again. Yeah, I think it is, yeah. He is getting better again. No, wait. No, he was always good. Moffat was always good. Doctor Who has always been great and there are no problems. It is always epic. People who point out mistakes are haters. Shut up, haters. You will be repaired. You will be fixed.